All right, so today we're joined with Agustin, and he is
Welcome.
an economics expert graduate, and more importantly, he's also a Bitcoin mining expert.
Yeah.
He is the man who knows how the sausage is made when it comes to Bitcoin and everything behind the scenes. We're so excited to have you here. We need to have this very much needed conversation about Bitcoin, and thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you guys for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. I mean, it's a unique experience, and also very happy to be talking to you guys. So let's
Love
go.
it.
Yeah, when did we first meet? I think we met in Prague, right?
think
We
it
all
was
met
Prague,
at the
yeah.
Prague conference.
It was super
Yeah.
random too, actually.
It was like 2 a.m. in the morning, or like and
Yeah, it was
the
almost
last
fun.
day, the very last day, and
Yeah.
it was like I just sat in your couch, and I think, and the craziest part is that remember. I went to high school in Oman, in Muscat,
Yes,
and then
yes.
it
And
was
his best friend is
Turns
from
out we
Oman.
have a common friend.
we have a
Like
common
Oman,
friend.
you studied in Oman. My best friend from college is from Oman.
Well, it's like-
It was a very random.
went to the same high school.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what
Yeah,
are the
that's actually
chances? But
crazy.
yeah.
And I think we connected because when you're kind of like, it sounds corny, but like a citizen of the world, like you've lived in different places, you connect with people who also have lived in different
Yeah,
places
totally.
and they don't feel like so stuck in one place.
Yeah.
So it was cool because you've lived like all over, right? You've lived.
Yeah, so till I was 14, I was like a normal kid, just living in Barcelona. I mean, half Spanish, half German from the get-go, so already going a lot to Germany because half of my family's in Germany. But then when I was 14, 15, my dad moved the family to Oman, and that's where all the craziness started, right? You're 15, you're turning of age, teenager. In Barcelona especially, that's when, you start partying,
Yeah.
For sure.
teenage years
Only
become
13?
funnier. In the village is 13, in Barcelona is
In the
15.
village.
Right. In the village.
People think, it's funny because people always think about villages in Spain as like, like, I don't know, like huts made out of mud or something. No,
Yeah.
no, it's like a little city, like a very, very little city.
Oh, the villages here are nice. The villages back
villages-
in Lebanon are
Exactly.
another beast. Yeah.
No, or Muscat, in
Yeah,
Oman.
yeah,
those
Muscat,
are-
wow,
that's
yeah.
a different story because people used to think he's going to one of those huts and just staying there. No, it's different. And in my village, party starts at 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
But no, in Spain, in Barcelona, it's with 15, 16, that's when you start going out. But yeah, then 15, I went to the Middle East, to Muscat. And yeah, I mean, at the beginning it was a bum, it was a bummer. And yeah, I know, it was a
Like,
bum.
how do you react when someone says, we're moving to Oman? Where you're like, where is that? Like,
I didn't even know where that was. It could have been like anywhere to me. In my mind,
That's
it was
true.
like nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 years later, awesome experience because it's a different part of the world. It also gets you much closer to all of the eastern side of the
Yeah, of
world,
course.
right? Is it eastern?
Yeah,
the,
east.
the eastern side of the world,
Yeah.
like India, Pakistan, Nepal, Southeast Asia. It gets you like 7 hours closer, so it's much easier to go to Thailand, Indonesia, all of the Bangkok.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was pretty interesting, as well as of course Dubai. It's also next door. So
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
great
that's
experience.
amazing.
And after that, I lived 1 year in Australia. So that kept
Whoa.
going.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that. Wow.
I know, right?
Like,
And
let
after-
me get as much as I can around the globe
I know
as
exactly.
possible.
That was actually the reason why I went to Australia because I was like, what's the opposite? What's the furthest away from Spain? That's technically New Zealand. But I was like,
Yeah.
Australia is a nice middle point. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. So yeah,
Was that
ended
by
up-
yourself or with your family?
yeah, all by myself.
Like college? You went for like,
No, before college.
Before college, like a
Because
gap
I
year?
did a high school diploma and I wanted to study in Spain, in Barcelona, in La Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona. But in order to like get my college admissions thing, I had to homologarlo. I had to homologate it. So, and we knew, my family and we knew it wasn't going to be like 2 weeks, right?
Right.
It ended up being 9 months. So I was right to take a gap year
Yeah, that's
and take a chill and enjoy Australia, enjoy my time. Thankfully, a cousin of mine, a German cousin of mine, he joined me halfway, kind of. We kind of tagged along.
Nice.
And after that, then 2 years in Spain, college, 1 year in Germany. That's where the craziness with Bitcoin mining started. And then an summer internship, which turned into a part-time job, which turned into a full-time job.
in college in Barcelona.
Well, I was 2 years in studying in Barcelona, and at the beginning of the third year, that's when you do your Erasmus.
Okay.
That's your exchange year. Inside of Europe, right? You can do one in Spain where I think it's called thesis or something like that, where you move to a different city in Spain and go to college there. Then there's Erasmus, and then you can also do international. I decided to do Erasmus in Germany, Mannheim, close to Frankfurt, because I already knew German. It was one of the best economic universities
Yep.
in Germany. Mannheim University is like number 2 or number 3 best in economics. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go there. It's also like a nice student city. And randomly at that point, I was already getting into Bitcoin and crypto in general. And my dad, he knew about that. And the same way as we have a friend in common, right?
Yeah.
The same type of like bam, 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 bam. He knew someone in a Bitcoin mining and high performance computing company in Frankfurt. So like 20 minutes away from Mannheim.
Cool.
And I somehow connected. That's how I got an internship before my Erasmus, my Erasmus was on the city next door, right? So I did my summer internship. They were impressed with me and they were like, want to stick around while you do your Erasmus? And I was like, 100%, why not? I mean, you're next door. And I like this industry, it's exciting. And after the Erasmus, they were like, want to stick along, like for the ride? And I was like, 100%, I'll stick around, I'll leave college for a minute, I'll pause that, and I'll, full ride, full steam ahead to Bitcoin mining, because it was a Bitcoin mining company. I was more concentrated on the Bitcoin mining side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I spent 8 months. So 2 months summer internship, 4 months Erasmus, 8 months full-time without college. And recently I finally graduated from economics because I went back, I graduated, in Barcelona, finish it up while there was the crypto bear market, like Bitcoin hit like 15K.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm out. let me finish my college degree now. Nobody's going to miss me for this next 2 years. I can do my things in Barcelona. I started organizing meetups. I started going to conferences. That's how I met you guys.
Yep.
And recently started working for Demand Pool. And that's where I go from mining to Bitcoin mining pool, which is like services, financial services for the Bitcoin miners.
So
Okay.
I have to ask, because this is, I'm sure other people will be thinking, you studied economics, but you were full steam in Bitcoin, and that's, even though for us as Bitcoiners it might make sense, like how do you study and literally like specialize in 2 different fields that seem to be clashing, right? Like for example, economics teaches you one thing, and then on the Bitcoin side, like economic professors usually don't really, take Bitcoin very well. So how was that like journey for you?
It was interesting because so when I came back from Australia, I first wanted to become a physicist. I wanted to go to CERN, do nuclear physics, particle physics, all that stuff. Casual stuff, very chill, very light stuff, very simple. But then my dad painted me a more clear picture of what that meant, and it meant spending countless hours in front of a computer, running the same simulation 1,000 times under 1,000 meters of rock in the middle of Switzerland. And I was like, yeah, perhaps that's not the best.
Right.
And I was already in Australia. I talk a lot. I know a few languages. So he was like, how about international business? Which is also what he kind of does, right? And I was like, okay, let's do that. That's how I got into economics in Spain. And for the first 2 years, I was super excited. I was almost the best student in class just because I didn't study. Some girls studied more than me, so they were better with grades. But like, I was constantly the one raising my hand, hey teacher, what about this, what about that, the question, answering questions, making other questions. Everyone knew me like, oh man, here comes Agustin, Jesus Christ, another question. Like it was famous. And I had like pretty good grades. Then I did the internship, I did my Erasmus, I did my Bitcoin mining thing. And after that, I was fully a Bitcoiner. And when I came back, I was like, oh my God. It's not true. It's not true. What they're spouting, it's not true. It's propaganda. It's like saying that the sky is red all the time. And it's like, no, it's only red sometimes in the afternoon and sometimes in the morning, perhaps. But that's it, right? And that's kind of the same with economics, right? In the class, some of the things are right, but most of it is just to a certain degree, just nothing. Like a lot of bullshit. I don't know if I can swear, but like
it's interesting because I majored in finance. Like I specialized in finance, and we had to do an economics class. And I remember took a summer class with economics, and my final essay for the economics class was about how Bitcoin was a superior form of money than fiat currencies, and how in general that was like kind of the future. And I for my thesis around that, I got a C-. Maybe because I didn't have ChatGPT to autocorrect like a bunch of different things.
What year was that?
But structurally, that was 2018. So Bitcoin was around like...
Yeah.
It's still an edgy thing to write about.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So it was definitely edgy.
Yeah.
It was definitely
100%.
edgy, and it was definitely something that I'm always counter-narrative somehow. In college, I had clashed a lot with my professors, and that was one of the major points. But it just showed me like, wait, what? How am I getting such a bad grade on something that feels like I just discovered something that's like
Revolutionary.
revolutionary, right? And it just teaches you a bit. You have to kind of trust your gut when moving forward, and not just because you're taught by someone different things from like a position of credibility that means that they're always right. So I mean, I think a lot of people got that wrong. Even Warren Buffett, like best investor, probably historically got it wrong. You know,
what was it?
Like
Rat poison squared or something like that.
yeah, like Jesus, you know. So like it's taught a lot. So I can definitely relate with your story there.
There's also something to be said about economics not being truly a science and being more of like the excuse maker for
like theoretical
politicians. You know, like they'll make up whichever economic theory is necessary to justify whichever economic spending the politician of that moment wants to a certain degree. And especially because in economics, compared to physics, let's use physics, right? In physics, if you are dealing with atoms, something very small with electrons, then you use the standard model. It has leptons, neutrons, all that stuff, all that cool stuff that nobody understands. Well, they do, but anyway. And the moment it starts getting bigger, well, you also use quantum economics. What the hell is that? I don't know. Quantum mechanics and quantum physics to like explain particles and all of that. But the moment you get bigger, let's say the size of a ball, football, our size, you throw it, you don't need any of that. You just use Newton, right? So you change your toolbox, your tool set for a different problem. And then you start using parabolas and gravity and laws of motion, all of that. Yeah. And if you get bigger, then you start using Albert Einstein and relativity and all of that cool stuff, right? So as the problem changes, you change your tool set. Yeah, in economics, no. Economists, they are either a hammer or they are a screwdriver. And if you're a screwdriver, everything is a screw, you can screw it in. If you have a hammer, everything is a nail, you can hammer it in, regardless of what the problem is. And that's what happens. You're in this school of economics, the Keynesian school, the monetarist, the Austrian, and you only have those tools and you only see the world through that vision, through that lens. Of course. And then suddenly you come in with Bitcoin and you try to explain it to a screwdriver in a nail way, right? Like in a hammer way. And they're like, no, you need to use a screwdriver.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
This is a wrong nail. Yeah, like it doesn't work. Can I fit my screwdriver? And they go crazy, they go mad, and they don't understand it.
Yeah.
So
and I kind of love this mix, which I think is a great
metaphor.
Great metaphor. And also with you, how you have a background in economics, but you're also on the nitty-gritty technical side of Bitcoin, or what people perceive that to be, right? The Bitcoin mining side. And I think there's just so many misconceptions. That's why I'd love to ask them so many things that I'm sure people listening would even, have to ask, because it's everybody has, the common questions. You might have gotten this question 10,000 times.
We want to bring this all the way down with you. I know you're super, you're throwing out atoms, you're throwing out quantum. We love
you're
that.
You're giving Einstein energy right now,
I just need the hairs. We
need to dumb down Einstein a little bit.
Yeah, okay. We need Kardashian energy right now, right?
So Kylie Jenner with Timothy Chalamet, I'll try.
Honestly, economically, you're doing pretty well, better than Einstein.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a Bitcoin expert, Bitcoin mining expert. A question that we always get asked, I'm sure you've gotten asked as well, is people confuse Bitcoin. They think of it as they compare it to maybe a Dogecoin or a meme coin. They think it's a fake digital coin made up out of thin air that can just be deleted. And they don't really understand what's the intrinsic value behind Bitcoin. What gives it its value? What makes it something worth investing in and holding and using as a medium of exchange?
That's, I think, one of the most difficult questions you can ask, because in a way, it's like trying to solve health problems for everyone with one answer, right? Everyone will have different health problems, and everyone needs a different answer, and everyone will need a different medicine or a different nutrition or sports routine or stretches or whatever, right? So to bring it back to something that we all understand. You will need a different exercise routine than I do, and yourself as well, and I'll need different food, right?
Depending on if we're comparing health conditions, it could be the country you live in, your economic status.
The economic status, but also what you studied.
Yeah.
What you know, what you don't know, how much you want to get into it. I'm more of a nerd. I like to go deep. I like to find the roots, and once I'm done, then I go back up, and then I'm like, okay, exactly. Now I can follow through. But some people, they're fine with just using the credit card and not knowing what's going on behind. Oh, it just works. Oh, perfect. What's going on behind?
I'd say that's most people, really.
Exactly, that's most people, really.
Right.
But even most people, you'd still need to explain it in a way or another because value is very subjective. So, for example, you guys are from Venezuela, I'm from Spain, but I'm also half German. And that's a funny line because when I speak to my German family members, they have no idea why it has value. It's like, what's the point? But me as a Spanish person, I kind of get it. In Spain, you don't really trust your authorities. You don't really want them to control your money. You don't really want them to control the money printer. And in Venezuela, we have the perfect case for why that's a bad idea. The moment someone can just print the money, you know, like 1 plus as many zeros as you want, things go bad very quickly, right? And I would say that's the main way to explain it, like where the value comes from, the fact that we already separated church from the state, and now we say, oh, that was a great idea. And in 100 years, we will have separated money and state, and we'll say, yeah, that's a great idea. Why are we trusting politicians with the money printer, basically the nuclear option with our bank accounts, with our savings, when there's nowadays an alternative, which is Bitcoin?
So let's bring it back a little bit, just for people who might even be on like their primary phase of like just even understanding Bitcoin. I think one of the misconceptions or like doubts that people have is like, if this is a digital currency, right? This is a digital coin. How can that even have any value, right? Like people compare it to physical things, right? Like maybe like gold, you have to mine it, you can touch it, you can use it on like computers and things like that. So I like your perspective because you literally know how it's made, and people think that it's just made out of thin air, like fiat currencies. How can you describe like why it would have value, or like people call it intrinsic value, but no, like let's call it just like real value. Like where is it coming? What's deriving like like how you make Bitcoin? We don't have to get complicated about it, but I know it's a complicated thing, but I know a lot of people have this question of like, this is a digital thing. How can it actually be real value?
I think it all stems from the fact that from one number, 21 million.
Yep.
There's only 21 million Bitcoins, and there will never be more, ever again. Yes, you can create more digital coins. I call them shit coins because they're worth nothing. You can create as many copies, but you can never recreate it again, right? It's like you can invent the wheel once. Once it's invented, that's the idea. That's it. And Bitcoin, in a way, it's kind of like idea, but it's been materialized in like this asset, this thing. And how it works is basically it's a software program that you can download if you want. You can also use Bitcoin without downloading the Bitcoin core. That's like the thing, the engine that makes it work. And this engine, so to speak, this software, what it does is it connects to all the other people, and it's what we call a protocol. We use protocols all the time in our life. One of them is language. The way we understand each other is the fact that you know that a verb comes after the noun, or how verbs work, or what they mean, right? Or how our articles used, right? Or adjectives, how they work. Another protocol that we use is the driving protocol. You drive on the right, and if you're coming from the other side, you also drive on the right. Because if you drive on the right and you drive on and coming opposite is driving on the left, we crash and we all die, right? And if there's a continuous line, you don't cross it for safety. If it's dotted, you can cross it with a car, right? If you see this sign, it means stop, and everyone understands that. And if there's a thick line from a street coming on the other side, you know that the car will stop, so there's not going to be a crash. You can keep going, right? That's a protocol. Another protocol is also football, soccer. Everyone understands it. You don't touch the ball with your hands unless you're the keeper and inside these boxes, right?
So it's essentially a set of rules created, but,
Exactly.
But in Bitcoin, it's enforced differently than in the real world.
It's not. It's enforced in the same way.
Right,
People
but more
say,
efficiently, let's say, because it's
it's using actual code. Because football, we all enforce it by watching the game and all knowing the rules and saying, "Hey, you
or the
did it
referee,
wrong." And with the referee, and sometimes the referee's right, sometimes he's wrong, and
everyone's watching.
And everyone's watching. And
it's transparent. There's more transparency with what you're doing.
Exactly. Everyone's watching. Everyone's there, and also there's no like with the referee, right? There's no like, oh, but perhaps, right? The ball touched him here. Is that the shoulder, or is that the arm, right? There's no like blurry line. It's like, these are the rules. They're clear cut. You're either in or out. If you follow them, welcome to the game. Welcome to Bitcoin. Follow the rules. That's the only thing you have to do. And the rules, what are they? 21 million Bitcoin. Don't steal. Well, it's don't steal, but in the sense of like, you basically can't, because we use cryptography to ensure that nobody can steal. Nobody's able to, right? Not even a miner.
I think where people, like the general people who aren't tech forward, they have a hard time trusting something that's backed by technology, because they feel, I don't understand it, so I feel like I could get screwed over because I don't know the behind the scenes, so I have to trust the people who do know about this. So can you explain a little bit about how it's it's basically trustless in a way?
Yes and no at the same time, because to a certain degree, I also don't know everything. At some point, you have to trust someone.
Of course.
But what's good is that with other systems, monetary systems like gold or the euro or the dollar and banking, you cannot really see behind the curtain.
Right.
But with Bitcoin, everything's open source. Everything you can see to the last minute detail. You can read every programming line that has been used, and you can download it and you can run it by yourself, and you can check for yourself, verify for yourself that it works as it was intended to work.
Right.
And you can also, and that's the important part, going back to the 21 million, you can check by yourself if you want to. You don't need to, but if you want to, you can check if the 21 million hold. And then why is 21 million important? So first of all, it's trustless in the sense that you can make it trustless in the sense that you can go as deep as you want, but you don't need to. Like, you're not forced to. Nobody's going to force you to do anything in Bitcoin except follow the rules. That's the only thing. But then what makes it awesome and different is the fact that it has this 21 million thing, right? Only 21 million. Never a single cent or satoshis, that's how we call them, right? Because a Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million parts. So it's like a euro or a dollar is 100 cents.
That's another misconception that
Totally.
people have.
You can subdivide it.
You don't need to buy one Bitcoin. You can buy
Exactly.
as
Little
little as
pieces of
100
it.
millionth of a Bitcoin,
Exactly.
which is called one Satoshi, which right now, I don't know, it's a $1 maybe, almost.
No, it's...
No, like
in
50
Venezuela,
cents?
perhaps. No? Soon in Spain as well.
Yeah, I don't want to get
Everywhere
into that one.
the rate we're going at.
Exactly,
Yeah.
soon everywhere.
Coming
Yeah,
Yeah, wait, one
Coming soon
sat?
to your closest cinema, right?
No, I'm thinking in
It's like
1,000 sats.
thousand and 100 sats.
Yeah.
So for $1 or €1, you can get around 1,000 satoshis.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's 1/100,000th.
Yeah.
Makes sense. 'cause
I know, yeah,
price is
you have like
100,000.
cents for Bitcoin, which is easier,
Exactly,
easy
yeah.
to manage.
And what's important about that is you can keep your Bitcoins by yourself. You can check that nobody's playing with the money. Nobody's going to suddenly print a lot of money and do a Venezuela or a Weimar Republic or a peseta. The Spanish peseta also had like famously 20% inflation year on year. 20% inflation means that your savings disappear after 5 years.
Yes.
Crazy.
Which was like, right? And it was normalized. It was normalized. Try to save in that environment, right?
Right.
And so with this 21 million, you can make sure, and by checking that it's 21 million, you can make sure that nobody's going to play you. No politician can decide, hey, we're going to create more and therefore dilute how much you have. We're not going to inflate your value away. We're not going to steal from you either. Because like nowadays with the banking system, they can basically go to your bank and take the money out or freeze your bank account. And suddenly, how do you pay the bills? How do you buy food? How do you, if you don't have cash, you're basically
You're
dead
at
in
the
the
mercy
water.
of your government.
You're at the mercy
essentially.
of your government.
Yeah.
But with Bitcoin, you have an alternative. And it's a fully sovereign. It's like having gold or cash under the mattress.
Right.
The
Right.
problem with gold and cash is gold, hard to transport, hard to move $1 million or even $100,000 of gold, if that's all your savings, across borders or even in your pocket. And with cash, inflation can turn it into basically just paper, which is what it is.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, one of the things that I think other people might be thinking about is, you talk about the 21 million mark, which I agree is completely like one of the biggest selling points of Bitcoin, which is like absolute scarcity, which people I think yet still haven't grasped that reality. But other people might argue, hey, like there's all these other thousands of coins which are limited in supply. I mean, I don't know who has a hard cap of whatever. Like I don't know any other coin. Think of whatever that has a hard cap. Like why isn't that another Bitcoin, right? Like why is in the simple terms, right? That's a big question I get.
That's the magic of, magic, I guess, the complication of Bitcoin in the sense that you need to know about so many things. You have to be like an old Greek, you know, one of those like Socrates or one of these guys that they fought, they painted, they did architecture and they did poetry and also geometry and all of that, right? You need to know about so many of these things. I think it's called polymath or something like that.
No, yeah. So the main question is, we get that Bitcoin is limited in supply, 21 million tokens, perfect, or coins. Why is that different to the other currencies that are also limited in supply? I think that's important for you to explain to others the biggest differentiator, why Bitcoin is Bitcoin and why the rest are what you call them. So
I know now what I was going with. So with all of these, like you need to know all of these things. And in this case, to understand the difference between Bitcoin and the rest of the coins, you need to know about economics and specifically about the history of money. Without getting too much in depth, we call it the gold standard and not the gold and silver and platinum standard because money is a thing, money is in reality a technology that helps us coordinate in big numbers above the Dunbar number. Dunbar is the 150 people. That's a number that says, well, that's a psychological, social thing that says that humans, we can on average only have 150 connections, like friends, family, best friends, spouses. Well, I don't know if you want to have 150 spouses, but anyway, that's a different story. And if we want to coordinate above that, right? If we want to move from like old villages that just hunted and gathered into like bigger societies that trade amongst each other, you cannot just know 1,000 people and know how much he owes you and how much you owe him and all of that. And money was a technology that allowed us to do that. But of course, if I use a money and you use a different money, like I use, let's say, gold and you use silver and you use platinum, when we meet to trade, it's impossible. Like, no, you have the prices in platinum, but I'm like, okay, but what's the exchange rate with gold? And you have it in silver, so now I have to know all of the exchange rates. That's why, at the end of the day, we all kind of like
we gravitate towards one.
We coalesce into one money, because the more people join the network, it's called network effects, the better it becomes also for myself, like, and for yourself. Like, if it's two of us with gold and you're still with platinum, we're gonna be like, okay, weirdo, like, get on the standard, man. Like, whenever you want, you can start using gold. And the moment you join, it's better for us because now it's easier for us to work with you. But it's also so much better for you because now you have two extra partners to trade with and to exchange, I don't know, whatever, wine or fruits or whatever, right? And when you expand that into like global economies, that's how gold appeared. And that's why silver died. Spain famously used to have two coins, the golden and the silver one. I don't remember the names right now, but it was like 400, 500 years ago. And nobody remembers silver anymore. We only remember the gold.
But you're saying it's because more people use gold that like it just had a network effect, and then since everyone was using it, then it was already like
more people, and it also had better properties.
Exactly. So that's where I want to get at with Bitcoin compared to the other.
Compared to other currencies, first of all, Bitcoin has the biggest network effects. Like you get a better deal by. We're already on Bitcoin, and you're on, let's say, platinum. If you join Bitcoin, you're so much better, right? Meanwhile, if you join some other coin that nobody's using, okay, you're there standing by yourself. What's the point, right? Might as well just join the biggest network. You're gonna get the most value out of it, right? Apart from that, Bitcoin is the first one, the scarcest. So like, it's super limited supply. It is truly the only decentralized coin out there. All the other ones, they are imitations, poor imitations, in my opinion. And especially, it has to do with how Bitcoin was created. And that's the fact that Bitcoin has no creator to a certain degree. Yes, there's this pseudonymous entity, let's call it.
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's just
Satoshi Nakamoto, who in 2008 came out and said, hey guys, there's this cool thing that I'm working on, Bitcoin. And everyone was like, all right, good luck, man.
Which, to be fair, adds to the like mysticism. If you don't know, there's an anonymous creator. Like, what am I getting into?
Who could that be, right? What if he's, I don't know, a terrorist or like from North Korea? What if
people say it's the CIA?
Yeah, exactly. But the magic thing about how this entity, regardless of who they are, worked is that they appeared, they didn't show anything of themselves. They created this thing, left it into the wild.
Disappeared.
And they disappeared.
They didn't want the notoriety per se.
No notoriety. They didn't want the money. They didn't come for the money. Because if you look at the history, Bitcoin wasn't the first attempt at creating a decentralized global internet money. Like, it wasn't the first time. We had eCash, eGold, BitGold, Liberty Reserve. There were many other different attempts. And all other attempts, the founders either ended up dead or in prison or in court. So, right, when Satoshi Nakamoto
that's why he disappeared, because he was like, I'm not dealing with that.
The moment Satoshi Nakamoto was on the track to create this thing, he was like, oh, whoa, I better not say anything. Because best case scenario, perhaps it works, but it's very, very slim. Because like, who am I to like be the one who finally figures it out, right?
Yeah.
But the most likely case scenario is that CIA knocks on my door 5 days later.
Because they want to keep us stuck in the same system, right? Because it benefits the most to have us dependent on that system.
And also it's a thing in the internet, what is going on. Like, the internet was also a new thing back in 2009, right? Facebook barely existed. Instagram barely was around, right? So different times, and he was like, you know what? Let's keep it safe. Let's keep it anonymous.
So you're saying main differentiators were the network effect. It was the first one that was created, and like what's called like an honest or like a mysterious founding.
I would say honest and fair.
Honest and fair,
moral,
like open source. Like, hey, I'm creating this. Like, this is open source
for the world. Yeah.
And then at the same time, it has like properties that others don't have, like
decentralization.
decentralization. Exactly.
The actual decentralization, which also takes you to mining.
Exactly.
Because one of the main innovations of Satoshi Nakamoto was the stick already existed, the wheel already existed, the engine already existed, and seat and chairs also exist. Let's just put them all together and we have a car, right? He's the first one who came around and said, hey, if we combine it all in this form, we get a car. Because someone actually did like the rundown of for how long all of the technologies had existed for, and it was around 8 years. So someone could have invented Bitcoin in 2000, 2001, but right, nobody had really come up with the correct combination of the pieces, right, of the puzzle.
Right.
And one of the key pieces was mining and how mining works. Mining, most people don't understand it because it's usually explained in a bad way, but it's basically guessing numbers. And every once in a while, every 10 minutes on average, one of us will guess a correct number, so to speak. And you will be rewarded. You will create a new block and you will be rewarded for your effort. Because in a way, you're using energy, not in a way, you're definitely using energy to do these calculations. Very simple calculations. It's like rolling a dice, but in a cryptographical manner, just like with maths, but rolling a dice. It's random, but you can, if you always roll it in the same way, you will always get the same number, so to speak. If you always have the same Sudoku, you will always get the same answer, type of deal, right?
Okay.
And once you have the Sudoku finished, you can see if it's correct or if it's wrong, the type of deal. And you do that 100,000 times, 1,000,000 times, 1,000,000,000,000 times per second, right? The technology has been getting better in how to do these equations. And once you get a low enough number, like let's say, hey, we're all gonna start throwing dice. Each of us has, let's say, 10 dice. That means that the lowest number, if we use a regular 6-sided dice, would be a 10, right? So 10 dice with a 1, and the highest will be a 60, right? All dice have a 6. The first one to get a number below 15 gets a prize and also gets to create the new block, add it to the chain, right?
Perfect.
And we start throwing, and then suddenly I threw my dice and it's 14. Oh, perfect, welcome. Put your block, let's keep going, let's do it again. And you do it, but of course at some point you're gonna think, hey, if I'm getting rewarded for throwing dice, perhaps I should start throwing dice better or faster, right? Or more efficiently. Because my arm is starting to hurt from throwing so many dice, I'm having to eat more because I'm getting tired. So what if I just create a machine that does it for me? And what if I make the machine better and better? Then what you would get is that you would start finding the low numbers much sooner, much quicker. And then the blocks would start arriving sooner, but we don't want that. Because if they arrive very quickly, then we would get the whole supply of Bitcoin emitted very, very fast.
So
and that's
right now,
because,
exactly.
That's because
we're sorry to interrupt.
let's dumb it down. Yeah, go ahead.
Because right now we're talking about how Bitcoin mining works, and I know that a lot of people might be even thinking like, okay, but what even is the purpose of Bitcoin mining? Like, what is that even, right? Like, why do people mine Bitcoin, and how does that benefit that network or that decentralization, right? Like on a more like macro scale, right?
In a way, it's the only way to connect the digital world, the abstract virtual world, with the real, like, hard physical world, right? And that's by using energy. Because Einstein, E equals mc squared, energy equals mass times the velocity of speed squared. Anyway, energy is equal mass, and mass is equal energy. This is energy, and the lights are also mass, so to speak.
Yeah.
And by using energy, you're actually having a real cost. Like, there's nothing in this world that does not cost energy.
Exactly.
Breathing costs energy, existing costs energy, everything costs energy. Nothing's free with energy. So by creating a real energetic cost, a real kilowatts, joules, calories, however you want to describe it, cost in the real world, you make sure that nobody can just like put a 1 and 100 zeros behind it and give it to their friends.
And that's tying it back to the original question that I was saying. That's why I was just so like my mind was blown with Bitcoin when you realize like people think that just because it's digital, it can just be created out of thin air. But in reality, it's quite the opposite, because it is tied into the real world via energy and like Bitcoin miners. And Bitcoin miners is what really grounds Bitcoin. And what why Bitcoin is always trading, or like the price of Bitcoin is always relatively close to the price it costs to make it.
It's
like
always
relatively.
a bit above. It's always a bit
right,
above.
exactly. I meant
if
like
not more.
I mean, it's not like from 0 to 100,000, whatever it is now. So like, I don't know, fiat currencies, you can just print them. It doesn't cost them 17 cents to print a currency that says it's worth 100, you know? And in Bitcoin, it's not like that. So that's the...
And for people who might be like a little confused by the technical mining jargon, I think in a general way, like somebody created an upgrade to the system we have using very calculated and strategic backings that allow this to be what it is, basically, right?
Yeah.
Which it sounds a little out there, right? Like for some people who might be listening, they might be like, their heads might be spinning like, wait, what? It sounds a little out there
You're
for
like,
me,
whoa.
but I think back in, like, this is like the most popular comparison, but back in the 90s, if you were to tell someone we're going to be using smartphones and FaceTiming and AI bots, that would have sounded crazy to them.
They were
back
laughing
then.
Bill Gates for saying that there was now radio on the internet. They were,
Right.
have you heard about the radio? Ha ha. And now everyone uses the internet. Yeah.
Even sending money from your phone, right? Like the idea of now we send like Zelle, PayPal, whatever it is, or Wink. But if you send money through your phone, like back in the day, like people wouldn't even trust credit cards.
Yeah.
There was a clip of
that
people
video
like,
was crazy.
right? Like there's I don't know, if the 80s or 90s, people were like, no, I don't use a credit card. Like, why would you get into debt to pay for a burger at Burger King? Or like,
They thought it was unsafe to pay for a
it was
burger
like, oh,
with
they're
a
gonna
credit
steal my
card.
data. Like, look at us now, Apple Pay, you know, for the win.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it's like a call for people who might be confused by the technicality behind it. It's important to learn, even if you don't understand it. Hear people who are smarter than you talk about it, understand a general gist, and be open to a new system that is hopefully better than the one that we
And
have
you know what?
today.
I'm gonna add something. The fact that I can hear you talk, explain to me what Bitcoin is and how it works, and I can talk to 10 other people and they're gonna tell me the same exact thing, tells me that I know it's an honest and transparent network, versus if I ask an economist or someone that's a traditional finance person, I'll get different answers as to how the system works, how the Fed prints money, how the...
that's a good one.
It's just like, for most people who might be listening or watching, they're like, this is so confusing. Well, if you use dollars, you use normal currencies, you use the banking system, you use so many things that you don't understand, but you know what you can feel is that it's working against you because your things are getting more expensive. It's just a system that's kind of flawed and you can feel the symptoms of it. And the beauty of Bitcoin is it's transparent. You can see it. You could understand it if you want to, like you said, but if you don't, well, you can also just kind of trust others and kind of gauge,
Exactly.
like, like a
100%,
verification system.
And that's why the people who have paid attention to it maybe the quickest were the ones who saw that flaw in the system. If you're kind of still in the bubble thinking that there's no problem, it's harder for you to
because
to
there's
see
always
it.
been people calling the flaws in the system. That's why the Bitcoin wasn't, let's say, the first attempt. It was the first success. That's why we only talk about Bitcoin, right? Because the other attempts, they were failed. Nobody talks about all of the people that wanted to be Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, but failed on the way. Nobody remembers them.
Right.
But everyone knows Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Or Neymar or Lamine Yamal now, right? Or Mbappe. Also put some Madrid in there. Not just Barca. So yeah, 100%. And also the crazy thing nowadays is what you were saying. It's not only just you can ask 10 different people and they will give you more or less the same answer of like 21 million, build your own node, have it like buy your own Bitcoin, hold it by yourself, don't trust anyone else to hold the Bitcoin for you, right? Because then who knows what they may be doing, right? With your Bitcoin, it's yours, make sure it is. You can also, at some point, if you really want to, do something that is impossible nowadays, and that's actually go down to the mines and see how the sausage is made, so to speak, right? Go down, and especially nowadays with ChatGPT, you can just
anyone
go
can do
to the
that.
code
Yeah.
and be like, what is this? What is this? Explain. Like, and what is this line and what does it do? Right?
And the best testament to that too is something called like the Bitcoin white paper. Call it the Bitcoin plan or the business plan, whatever it is. It's just 8 pages. You can go and read it. And that's literally
It's the funny
everything.
thing, right? People think, oh, the Bitcoin white paper, it's got to be like long, like, like 100 pages
Is that
of
like
thing.
the constitution
Yeah,
of the US
no,
but
it's like
for
how Bitcoin works. Like what is this creation? Like what Satoshi or the inventor of Bitcoin, he just launched this paper, said, hey, this is Bitcoin, this is my paper.
And
it's 8
instead of
pages.
100 pages, 8 pages, written for
Easy.
normal people. Okay, some advanced math, but you can understand it. And nowadays, especially, there's been hundreds of people that have gone and poured over it and explained every bit and created different versions of the white paper that have like a sidebar that explains every piece and interactive websites where you can click and it like gives you some sources and videos that explain each bar. So it's super interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of papers, I think we want to go over key misconceptions. I know you're a good academic, you're good in class. We want to throw you some like fireside questions.
Go ahead.
We want you to answer them because these are common misconceptions around how Bitcoin works and how Bitcoin is made and things like that. And we just want to get your answers so people clear up a lot of the questions they might have or doubts.
Okay, so we want to ask you some Bitcoin mythbusters because
Let's
there's
go
so
ahead.
many misconceptions that we get around Bitcoin and like very common questions we get.
Oh, geez.
So try to, I know these are deep, but try to answer them maybe as like quick as you can.
I'll try my best.
Okay.
Quick and also simple for people.
Yeah. Which is, it's tough.
Easy task.
Easy
it's-
task, you
it's-
know?
It's tougher than people think.
No,
It's really,
yeah.
it's tough.
People listening, if you have doubts, like just like, you know, just put your academic hat on right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, we kind of touched on this already, but can someone just hack the system and manipulate it? Because people don't want to trust that somebody could just hack this software you just explained. And
No, it's basically impossible.
Impossible.
Like it is literally safer than any other system. The reasons why are very long to explain, so I will not explain them now. But people
Give us 3 points. Just points so people know, like basic points.
it's decentralized.
Perfect.
It keeps, due to its decentralization and the use of cryptography, that would be the second one, it keeps on checking on itself all the time.
okay.
So it's like recursively checking on the rules all the time. And if anyone ever steps out of the bounds, tries to break the rules, like print more Bitcoin or use Bitcoin that are not theirs, like aka steal Bitcoin, then they get immediately shut down.
And it's the hardest network to hack out of the like 500 supercomputers. Like that's
Absolutely
the hash
impossible.
rate, right? That's something like that. Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely impossible. But
Okay.
anyway, let's not get more
Okay.
into that.
I'll take that one. If governments and big institutions buy all the Bitcoin, can they control the network?
That's a huge misconception.
That's
Yeah.
a huge mistake. Yeah, 100%.
Because there's 21 million, right? There's so
That's-
many people with so much money in the world, and I'm someone who's working a 9 to 5.
Yeah,
and
what are my $20 a month going to do, right?
Right.
My $100 a month,
Right.
right? Absolutely not. That's the magic. That they cannot, like, having a coin is not equal to having a vote. Those are different.
So, for example, people
things.
worried about like Michael Saylor or governments or
Yeah.
the US buying it, like, I don't know, millions of Bitcoin. Like, if they can even buy that much, people think like, well, if they have, you know, like a normal company, you have like a majority stake, so I can just control and change things. Like, is that possible?
That's not how it works. Because it's a distributed network, they would have to convince every single node runner, person running Bitcoin and enforcing the rules. They would have to convince every, let's say, enforcer, this distributed police of programmatic.
So it'd have to buy out
Police?
all the refs essentially.
But not
if
just
the
buy
refs
out,
were everywhere in
they
the
would
world.
have to find them and convince them. And I can tell you, some of these guys, they live in Texas, they have guns, they have ideas that they don't want to change. They live in Spain, they're hidden. They live in the middle of nowhere in Russia. They live in Peru. They live in.
You mean the people who
Nairobi.
want to keep it and they don't want to sell it?
Exactly.
No,
Right?
not the
No,
coins. The people who are running the Bitcoin like network.
Bitcoin network.
The people who are verifying
okay.
transactions.
Exactly.
The people who are like,
verifying
keeping
the
the
rules. All of the policemen of the network.
who are enforcing the
the
rules.
rules. Like,
Okay.
hey, don't cross that line. Don't cross that line. Follow the rules.
Well,
right?
but there's no rule for how much Bitcoin one can buy, right?
No, there's not.
So
I mean,
how-
well, 21 million.
Right.
That's the
But
maximum.
if I have hundreds and millions and billions of dollars and I want to buy all of the a lot of Bitcoin, doesn't that put me in an advantage compared to someone who maybe has less?
Yes,
To
100%. And people also look at the distribution of bitcoins and they're like, oh, there's a few people with a lot of bitcoins. It's so unfair. And I'm like, yes, but so is our current system. like,
Right.
But
what we're-
those people can't change how Bitcoin works.
And that's
the main question.
They
Right.
can change it, and also the system is not set up to benefit them. Because
Right.
currently we have the same setup where a few people literally have gazillions of dollars, billions upon millions upon trillions of dollars, and they not only own the dollar printing machine, but they also own the assets that benefit from the inflation, and also own the politicians that put the rules, so to speak, right? But in this system, yes, they may have more Bitcoin than you, and they may have unimaginable amounts of Bitcoin, but they cannot print it, they cannot steal it from you, and they can only change rules outside of Bitcoin. They can change the tax laws, they can change the, I don't know, like import laws on, oh yeah, if you come with Bitcoin here, but they cannot change Bitcoin. It's like, like saying, what if they change gold and they make it now, I don't know, green everywhere? Oh, what if the governments change gold to green? It's like,
Yeah, you can't
it's
make
not, it's
one.
gold
Yeah.
is gold.
Yeah.
It's a nonsensical question in reality. It's like it's by very definition, by how it was built, Bitcoin is like gold in the sense of like it is a thing. It exists. It's like the sky is blue. Full period.
Yeah.
So the decentralization, essentially, in summary, doesn't come from how distributed the coins are among billions of people. It comes from the distribution of the people who are verifying and who are enforcing
and
the rules.
ensuring that the rules are free
Which are the
followed.
miners.
No, actually, that's another
another misconception.
Thank you for leading us right into it.
This is why I'm here.
Just a quick thing, because most people don't really know what miners are anyway.
In a way, the same way that, why do we have democracies? And what is a democracy? A democracy is a way to go away from absolute monarchies. Monarchies being, I have the power to create the laws, enforce the laws, and judge the people, right? All of that. So I have full power. And then we said, hey, hold up. What if we just divide these powers, legislative, and executive, and judicial, and make them watch each other, right? That's what the founding fathers of the US said, right? Like, let the powers fight against each other and let the citizens
keep each other
sleep.
in check.
Yeah, keep each other in check, checks and balances, and let the citizens sleep. And in a way, that's how Bitcoin also works. Okay. And people think Bitcoin miners are these all-powerful, we control the network, but that's not true. The people that actually control the network are all of the individuals that with like an old laptop, an old computer, or just some small Raspberry Pis and small mini PCs that cost like $200 or not even, they enforce the rules, and they are the ones enforcing the rules, and then the miners, they're just like the subordinates, like the workers, the contractors, the subcontractors that do this work freely because they want to, nobody's forcing them to, and if they get out of bounds, they're very quickly like, let go of their contract, so to speak. If they try to play around, be funny, be cute, and do smart shit, they're gonna be shut down very quickly. And it's already happened a few times, so it's not like it's a ghost, it's a specter. Okay. No, it's been proven. People have lost money. Like 2-3 years ago, one of the biggest companies, they own like 5% of the mining network. They mined a block that was deemed invalid, so it was breaking the rules, and it was invalid. Like nobody noticed it, and they spent I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in electricity. Once again, tying Bitcoin to reality. The electricity, they had to pay for that, and they didn't get the block. Yeah. So that's also another thing. In Bitcoin, mistakes, like whoever makes the mistake bears the cost. If the banks do another 2008 great financial crisis, we will not pay the price. They will. They will not get golden parachutes. They will not even get parachutes. So
exactly.
That's the difference. And if you did your homework and you did your job right, you will have your Bitcoin safe. It's another thing if they crash the entire economy and destroy all of the industrial base and all of that, and then the entire economy goes to shit. Bitcoin does not fix everything. It cannot fix your plumbing, but it fixes a few important things.
Okay. If another coin, we talked about this already as well, if another coin comes around that everyone decides to use, so talking about that network effect, if another coin comes and has like a bigger network effect, can Bitcoin just die off?
It could, but there's a problem with your question. And it's the fact that it comes with a huge, absolutely massive assumption. It gets bigger network effects. Like, it has to, and like, that's the thing. People think Bitcoin is like something you can copy and paste, but Bitcoin in reality is us, is the social layer. All of the people like myself, like Salomon, like yourself, Christina, talking about it, working on it, either directly or indirectly, or being aware of it, right? That's the thing that you cannot just copy, because the code is open. I could right now go to my laptop, open it up, go to GitHub, see all of the code, do copy paste, and run it, change a few things.
People do it too, right?
And people
Bitcoin
do it too.
Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin whatever.
Litecoin,
they all did that.
They do it, but the problem is that part, at the beginning of the question, if it gets the bigger network effects, that's a problem. Bitcoin already has the biggest network effects. It also has all of these other properties like no founder, so it's truly decentralized. It uses proof of work. It has all of this infrastructure, mining infrastructure already invested into it. That
it'd be difficult to replicate what it's already become.
It'll actually cost a lot of money.
Almost impossible, in my opinion. Almost impossible, because it's not yes, it's a technological innovation, but it's more of a social innovation.
Yeah, of course.
Because money is a social technology.
Of course.
It's going back to what we said before, right? You got to be a polymath. When you think you understood Bitcoin, you can still keep digging. Man. You can still keep digging, and you can still. And there's some philosophers. So there's a crazy one. Due to how Bitcoin is made, Bitcoin is only released every 10 minutes with every new block, right? With every new block, a new Bitcoin is created, and every 4 years or every 210,000 blocks times 10 minutes is more or less 4 years. That supply, so the amount of Bitcoin you get per block is divided by 2. And that's what we call the halving. And that's how we also get to the 21 million. In the first 4 years, you got 50 Bitcoins per block, 210,000 blocks times 50 Bitcoins. That gives you 10.5 million Bitcoins. And then you
Just
keep
a
doing
disclaimer, this has to do with the Bitcoin miners, not the actual people. Because people might get
Yeah,
confused that every
but
4 years you can only buy half as much Bitcoin or whatever.
It's also like a...
This is a behind the scenes look as
behind
to
the
what
scenes.
makes
Behind the
this
scenes.
And also
operate.
like one of those crazy philosophical points, the sense that, yes, that's like we already know how much Bitcoin is going to be mined every year.
Yeah.
And we know we can calculate more or less in which year the supply will, like blocks will stop printing new Bitcoins.
Right.
And in a way, some philosophers say that Bitcoin is stuck in time. In the sense of like, it's there. Like all of the Bitcoins were printed in 2009 when it was released. But they're just waiting in time, in the future, for us to get there and mine that block and get that Bitcoin. So just a glimpse of the crazy philosophical takes you can
There's
have.
a lot of things. Yeah, that's like deep in there.
It's
That's
deep in there. Like you can go very crazy.
That's another one. Yeah.
Okay, last one. Does mining harm the environment?
Not at all. Like quite the opposite.
This is also not. I wouldn't even say misconception. That's definitely like an attack point of people why they don't use Bitcoin, why they don't
of
like
the system,
Bitcoin.
of the current system,
Exactly.
an attack on Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And it's actually completely wrong. It's actually completely the opposite way around. Like the current system is harming the environment with the dollar and the petrodollar. How was the petrodollar enforced? With the US military. Otherwise, ask Gaddafi and Libya. They tried to create trade oil in gold, and we all know what happened there. And there's more cases like that, not exactly like this one, where the US military basically defended the position of the dollar. And who's the biggest emitter of CO2? Well, number 2, I think, is the US military in the world. So yeah, they are the biggest emitters of like CO2 and like all of these contaminants. Plus also they kill, that's not really good for the environment, let's say. On the other end, you have Bitcoin. What does Bitcoin do? It neutralizes the negative side effects that renewable energy has. So solar and wind specifically, they are very volatile. They go up and down, you know, suddenly there's a cloud, poof, you have no energy anymore, but then the cloud is gone, all of this energy. And our grids were not created for that. So all of this new renewable energy entering our grids is creating a lot of chaos that is being swept under the rug and nobody's trying to notice, like, oh no, don't look over there. That's my dirty clothes, you know, under the rug. And Bitcoin is coming in and kind of like plugging the hole, like your mom going into your room and getting all of your dirty clothes under the rug, putting them in the dishwasher, in the washing machine and cleaning them for you, right? That's what Bitcoin mining is doing. It's making sure that the grid is stable, that energy is actually getting cheaper. Recently, there was a very poignant case study in Norway. Norway is very big on renewable energy. They have a lot of hydro, a lot of dams, and especially in the north. And not much to do there. There's not much industry. So their energy is very cheap. And miners, they're looking for cheap energy because the cheaper the energy, the more money they make. And there was this Bitcoin miner in this little city. And they were 4 or 5 megawatts. That's the equivalent to, I don't know, I think it's like 50 houses more or less. So the village was like, oh wow, that's a lot of energy. That's very bad. Let's kick them out. Because they're using so much energy, harming the environment. Oh no. They kicked them out, and now the energy, like not now, but like immediately after, the energy costs for all of the residents jumped up by 40%, and the local grid is now more expensive and less stable. So less stable also means more costs, more maintenance, more things break, right? So yeah, this Bitcoin miner, it was like an important animal in the ecosystem, right, of this little village energy system.
And also, I'd add, like, I think it's one of the most sustainable or renewable industries in the world,
it
right? Like
60%, 59 to 60% of all of its energy comes from renewable sources.
Exactly. So I think what really is at the root of this question is like, why, if you don't think Bitcoin has value or solves a problem, you're just going to see this as energy wasted. Doesn't matter if it's $1 worth of it, you're just going to see it as energy wasted.
I mean,
if you understand that it's literally giving people a lifeboat or a life raft into a new monetary system that works for them and not against them, especially like 5 billion people who are like essentially in like these governments that just are accelerating hyperinflation,
Yeah.
then you understand the value, then it makes complete sense. And it's just like AI where you're justifying that like, hey, this is actually a real world use case, therefore we can justify this, the energy consumption. Bitcoin, I think it's the
and
same.
that's the funny thing, right? Most people, they don't see the value in Bitcoin and therefore they complain. Because who complains about all of the TVs that are right now on in all of the shopping
The Christmas
centers?
lights.
All of the Christmas lights,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's a big
all
one.
The Christmas lights, that's a good one,
Yeah,
right?
Christmas lights spend a lot of money. Like, you
And
know,
they
dryers,
use-
clothing
they're
dryers.
only on for 1 month, but they use as much energy in 1 month as the entire Bitcoin network in an entire year.
Wow.
Nobody complains.
Yeah, nobody complains.
Also, the fact that 30% of the energy that the world produces is wasted in transportation. Between the electrical production and your house, right? Because you're not going to have a huge, data center, or not data center, energy producing facility next to your house, right? They're going to be far away from the city. They're loud, they're dirty.
Like transmitting
you don't like
energy,
them.
yeah.
And all of the transmission,
can lose
30% of the
energy.
energy is lost.
It's amazing the misconceptions we can make in our minds when we're not informed. And
Yeah.
that's why we really appreciate you coming on and giving us your expertise and explaining things, trying to explain things in a more mundane way for everybody to understand. And I want to finish with a question we like to ask all our guests, which is,
Awesome.
What makes you hopeful for the future?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is in Bitcoin. And I think a recent quote by Alex Gladstein, the Chief Strategy Officer at the Human Rights Foundation, portrays it the best. And it's the fact that he said something along the lines of, people usually see Bitcoin and Iran using Bitcoin and they go mad, they go crazy, they're angry at it because they see that now the Iranian government can skirt the sanctions, the US sanctions. But that's not the revolution. The revolution is not that a few government officials in Iran can skirt sanctions. The revolution is that now 100 million, I don't know how many Iranians there are, but like 100 million Iranians can now skirt their governments, like the tyranny and sanctions and all of that. So the revolution is not that a few bad people now have freedom. The revolution is now that 5 billion people, as you said, in authoritarian regimes, under inflation, under tyranny, are now empowered to be free. And I think that's what gives me hope. And it's Bitcoin.
I love that. I agree.
Love it. Thank you so much, Agustin,
Thank
for
you,
coming
guys.
on.
Yeah, thank you. This is a good talk. We're going to do it again.
I love to be back.